comments to react to. Obviously, the We Are Tottenham army is stronger than ever at this moment in time. But first of all, you guys have been absolutely brilliant over the last week or so. Ever since winning that Europa League, tuning in your droves. And we can't thank you enough, people. But yeah, you've been strong in the comment section once again. So let's go and see what comments there are to react to.
All right. So the first comment we are going to read is from Sean Cannon 7922. He says, winning the Europa League was brilliant, but winning a cup doesn't automatically mean that the squad will now kick on to bigger and better things. Did West Ham kick on after winning in Europe last year? Did United kick on having won the FA Cup 2 years ago? No. If you look at the Premier League at the end of this season, 50% of clubs have now won a cup in the last few years.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think you're talking about clubs, only proper clubs kick on when they win a trophy. Unfortunately, I don't hold Tottenham in that category anymore. Like, you're looking at clubs that kick on. Liverpool, they won that Champions League and they absolutely kicked on. Man City under Pep Guardiola, or even just in the reign after the money and everything, and, you know, they won that trophy, they absolutely kicked on. Like, these kind of clubs kick on and the trophy means a lot. Like us, I feel like this trophy is just like a snapshot in time.
Yeah, it might be, especially with all the uncertainty in how we're running things. You get the feeling, though, for example, if like Poch would have won a trophy earlier on, like let's say we won that Carabao Cup final,
we're a proper club then.
Like, I reckon a lot of those semi-finals that we lost in the FA Cup,
100%.
maybe the mentality would have been different instead
100%.
of like things just going against us all the time.
100%.
And a mentality thing.
But the difference is, like, you know, we were fighting at the top of the league at that point, and, you know, we were over the course of 2 years, we were the best team in the Premier League. Like, we're a far cry from that at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that.
So I'm looking at teams that are fighting at the top of the league, I think, and they're just not about getting over the line. That trophy means they can kick on. Like, if Arsenal were to win a trophy, like in the last 2 years, it would have meant a lot, and it meant they'll probably kick on and win a lot more trophies. We're just not that at that moment.
Yes, obviously the evidence is there with the league position that we're still far away from being that team that we want Spurs to be, in terms of being a consistent team, challenging near the top of the league, getting that regular Champions League football via the league and that kind of stuff. But I also think that winning that competition for this group of players, they're all very, very young. They've all been, you know, bought into this narrative that Tottenham is this club that never wins anything, and they're the ones to break that spell and all that kind of stuff. And I think we have seen evidence that they can perform good in the league. Maybe this season was, you know, a complete shit show, but I think there's reasons for that. But I think obviously first season we did finish fifth in the Premier League. So I do think they've shown we can finish in that position. We are capable of it. And I think the confidence this win and togetherness it's going to bring us, I think you're going to see them play next season with their chests out. There's so much more confidence. I think you're going to see a much more confident Tottenham next season. Well, if we keep hands, that is. If we don't, obviously we have to wait and see what it's going to look like. But I think next season it could be something that kicks us on. I really do believe that, because I think what
does kicking us on look like, though?
Obviously, depending on, you know, summer and stuff.
Let's say we keep hands. What does kicking us on actually look like?
Getting back into that top 6, top 5, and also having a good run at these cups and being serious in these cups and actually being proper challengers and potentially going all the way in one of them. Not the Champions League, maybe the Carabao or the FA Cup. And, you know, I think they're gonna know that we're capable of winning these competitions now. We can actually win it. We're not just there, you know, dreaming of it. We've done it before, and we've been there and done it now, winning these competitions.
Really hope so, man. I really hope so. Go on.
The Yid in America says Tottenham are a rudderless ship. Leadership oscillates at their whim, hiring and firing directors of football like middle managers, taking 10 plus weeks to find a new gaffer, and now threatening to piss all over the good vibes of our real our first real trophy in 30 years. There's no clear plan, no momentum, no vision, just dithering. Levy needs to go. The longer we sit in limbo, no director, no assurance for Ange, the more our transfer window advantage evaporates. We need 3 to 4 established starters, not this slow motion drift. Do they not understand how the players feel about Ange, how the majority of the fan base backs him? The man just delivered a European trophy and gave us an identity back. And yet, crickets. It's pathetic, momentum sucking. Levy is actively holding this club back. Someone needs to tell him, you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Preach.
Absolutely spot on. I couldn't have said it better myself, so big up to him, man. Big up. Levy is holding us back.
He doesn't seem happy, does he, the kid in America?
No, and I don't think many Spurs fans are happy right now, even though like we're delighted with winning that trophy. It's just sapping the life out of us, all this indecision and all this unknowing and everything like that. And like, don't get me wrong, you know, over 24 years, Levy has done some good things for the club. I won't say otherwise, but the negatives just heavily outweigh the positives massively. And he's just holding us back, and we need change at the top.
All right. Peter U9SB says, "Good job, guys. You have been good job, guys. You've been part of pushing for this, encouraging the talk about Ange's departure, with Levy taking notes. Now see how Spurs will decline again and not win a trophy for another 20 years. I'm out of this Spurs channel. Despicable not to stand by the gaffer. Hope you guys who supported Ange will join leaving this channel."
Well, Peter,
I think it's directed at you, Ben. You've been part of this. This is your fault. This is your fault.
What happened to you after Chelsea, though?
Huh?
What about you after Chelsea?
It was a week.
Yeah, and?
What? I wanted him back. I said if he beats Frankfurt, he gets back. He's back in my good books.
You said Ange out.
After he cupped his ear to the fans.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter why or when and how or how long it was for. You said Ange out.
Okay. For a week.
I just said it doesn't matter how long it was
Why
for.
does it not matter?
Because it doesn't. You still created the conversation.
I didn't create it. I created it. Come on. You cannot accuse me of creating that conversation.
Okay, you carried it on.
No, I contributed to it.
Yeah,
I'd say for a week. For a week, yeah. That's my crime.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Obviously, I was banging it a lot more than you and for a lot more often than you. And look, he's won the trophy. He's proved me wrong, and I want him to stay now. Like, what more can I say?
Do we think the massive clamour to sack him, regardless of the Europa League result before it happened, is contributing to this indecision? Or do you think it would have been there'll be an indecision regardless?
Nah, look, I think Levy is more than capable of making his own decision and finishing 17th in the league with the results that were happening week in, week out for the majority of the season. I think in his own mind, regardless of what the fans were thinking, he was thinking, I need to sack this guy. That's what the feeling was. That's what, in my mind anyway. And I actually think the clamour from the fans towards at the parade on a positive note, and the clamour from the players on a positive note towards the end, that's caused the indecision in his mind.
But maybe throughout the whole season, he's always stuck with him, right? He didn't sack him, despite a lot of the time there was clamour to sack him.
Yeah.
And then obviously maybe we know that Levy sometimes does react to fan pressure. Maybe the pressure just got so much. He was like, you know what, I'm just going to sack this guy regardless. That's why, the pressure's so much at the moment. There
was so much pressure throughout the whole course of the season to sack him. So if he was going to bow down to fan pressure this season, he would have been sacked already, in my opinion.
I think you're probably right about that. D Joshua 9 says, half the comments on these videos were Ange out for months. If Van de Ven doesn't clear the ball off the line and United win Europa, you would all be Ange out. To keep a manager from the results of a 1-0 game is silly either way. I'm not Ange in or out, but you're all pretty ridiculous how flip-flop you are for this. Speaking generally, of course.
Yeah, it's not wrong. Like, if we lose that cup final, I don't think you would see one Ange inner. Like, even you would be Ange out if we would have lost that.
I just can't see him. I can't see how he can stay if he would lose that. Yeah, if we lose it for sure.
So I mean, it is like based on pretty much one game. Well, I would say it's based on on 3 games, on 3 ties, isn't it? The Frankfurt Bodo,
Yeah.
and then culminating at Manchester United. Because I think the Ange out kind of narrative was decreasing as we were going further and further into the Europa League. And then obviously we win the cup, the jubilation, something that we haven't done in such a long time, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, when you see that right in front of your eyes and you're part of it and you feel it, it's hard not to want to just move on with this manager.
That's the fine lines of football as well, isn't it? It's like that can be the fine lines of winning and losing, especially at elite sport. So, yes, if we lost that final, we end up the season with 17th and no trophy, then yeah, I think he can't stay. I don't think he'd have a leg to stand on. But winning that trophy is not just a little cherry on top of the seed. This is like major. This is exactly what we wanted for many, many years. This is a massive thing for this football club, and I think he intentionally put all his eggs in that basket, and he ended up with the trophy. He didn't come second. He didn't lose in the final. He didn't come runners up. He won the whole damn thing, and I think that deserves a lot of credit. And I think then you can say, when you're looking at all the problems we had this season, I think maybe a lot more fans are like, okay, maybe you can give him the benefit of the doubt. Although I think for me, I've always mentioned the problems throughout the whole season. I don't think it's any less valid whether we lose the final or not. But I also think when we've had these problems, right, and he's had these excuses, Ange, for why we've had them, he still needs to show, I even said this at the time, he needs to show that when we get these players back and all this kind of stuff, that it was the injuries, that we can be a good team, and we're not just this rubbish team who are 17th, and that when everyone's back and he can actually be a good coach and he can actually get a team to be organised and all this kind of stuff, and we can be good. And in my opinion, winning the Europa League, winning that whole tournament, and the way we performed all the way through in the knockouts proves that, in my opinion, how good he can be. And for some people, it's not enough evidence. And I understand that just winning or losing the final doesn't change that. But what the win does is you have tangible success, like actual success that no one can argue with, that it's there, you can touch, feel. And I think if we lost that final, again, it's like, oh, you said you could be better, but you still didn't win the final. You still lost. You still came runners up. Is that enough to cling on to for next season, to say, to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you actually can turn this ship around and you actually, can perform at this level. But winning it, as much as it is fine lines, there is definitive proof there, in my opinion.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, I still understand people that want the manager gone right now, because even me, who I think Ant deserves to take us into his new season, and I want him to stay, I still don't know fully in my heart of hearts if he is the guy that is going to take us on and take us to that next level and get us competing year after year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. And on the evidence of, how the whole season has gone this year, there's a strong case to say he's not. But the reality is he has brought the success to this football club. He has won a trophy. So I think just on that basis alone, he deserves to prove the doubt was wrong going into next season. Like, you look at fans, I didn't even think about this the other day, but like you think of fans who are, let's say, 25 years old, 21 years old, whatever. 17 years ago was our last trophy. Like, these fans have never seen a trophy at this football club. Never. Well, yeah. Like, how mad is that? Like, we were obviously at 2008. I remember 99. I don't really remember 91. Like, I know what it's like.
I don't remember 99 yet.
You don't remember 99. Like, you've seen one trophy then.
Pretty much, yeah.
Life. I've seen 2, but I was alive for 3. You're alive for 2. You've seen 1. Like, a lot of fans out there that are just above 20 don't know what it's like at all. They've never felt it. How mad is that? Like, over 20-year-olds just don't know what it's like for this to feel like what a trophy win. And he's brought that to them, and he's brought that to us. So
not only has he brought it, he made sure he got it. You know what I mean? He prioritized it. That's what he did. He put all the eggs in that basket to get us that trophy. Whereas maybe other managers in his position, as much as what's it called, the league. I know the league was gone anyway, but I think there are some other managers who maybe would have prioritized in a weird way their ego of not finishing as low as we did in the league to make sure we didn't do that, even if it meant risking that Europa League. I think other managers might have picked another choice, and even said Ange that some in the club didn't agree with him, but he made that decision.
I don't get any manager that would prioritise the league at that point. I just don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I agree. But you look at Amorim, like he played a strong team in the league, didn't he? And like, I'm not saying that was what was cost him, but I'm just saying like he wasn't as focused on winning that trophy as we were,
which I just don't get.
Yeah. Jack Lane 3679 says, I like Frank. He's worth a punt for a big club, but the timing here is a disgrace. The squad loves our current coach, and we've just won a European trophy. We can disagree on the validity of mitigating circumstances for our poor league form, but if the club sack a winning manager with a harmonious squad, then the ambition of the club is absolutely pathetic.
That's true. That is absolutely true. And like I said before, like whether you think he's the right choice to stay or not, him winning that trophy with the players behind him, with a large section of the fan base behind him, you just have to give it a go. You have to just move on with this manager and see where it takes us. And yeah, look, it's a very strong possibility that we go off to a horrible start next season and he's gone by Christmas. That is a strong possibility going into next season, but at least we've given it a go.
Do you think this is, if Ange was to go, this would be the right time for a Frank? Timing wise? I don't know what that means even, but that's what, like, in terms of like, Ange was like a project, wasn't he? Well, essentially, he was supposed to be like a project manager, give him a few years to develop young players, all this kind of stuff. Like now he's obviously finished 2 years of that project. Do we want another manager to start another thing kind of with Frank? Or is it time for someone like maybe more elite at this level to kind of build on that if that's possible anyway?
I don't know. I don't think that is possible because I'm looking at options around and the options are just not there. This elite option that everyone's clamoring for, who is that elite option? There is no elite option. Is Xavi an elite option? I don't even see Xavi as an elite manager. You know what I mean? Like, who is this elite option that everyone keeps going on about?
Yeah, I don't know. Zidane
ain't coming in. So, is it the right time for Frank? I mean, it's not the right time to sack Postecoglou. That's what it's not the right time for. I think it's the right time to keep with Ange. That's what it's the right time for. The only time will tell if it's the right time to appoint Frank. If we sign him, like, I don't know what that question actually means. Like, it's only the right time if he comes in and does well.
Yeah, I agree. But I kind of feel like because we got in that Champions League, is it time to give the next manager is it time to give the job to a manager just as we get in the Champions League with a young team to give it to a man who's never managed a European football level before? It's just
he can come in and do really well with his kind of philosophy and the way he manages clubs and proper builds teams to counteract the opposition, and that could work well for us in the Champions League. It really could, but you just have to stick with Ange, in my opinion, right now.
James Lynch 9252 says, appointing Frank, though he is a good manager of budgets important, I suspect, would be a sure sign of Levy's lack of ambition for the football side of the club. And Georgie, the next one's else, Mitro 2054 says, sacking Ange for Frank will go down as the worst decision this club will ever make.
What, bigger than sacking Mourinho for Nuno?
You mean for Poch for Mourinho, you mean?
Well, Poch for Mourinho and Mourinho, both of them.
Yeah.
I think sacking Poch for Mourinho is a bigger mistake than sacking Postecoglou for Frank. Thomas the Frank Engine.
Thomas the Frank Engine. Is Frank, would that be like, do you think that would signal Levy again just looking for a manager who's looking to overperform?
100%. Of course it is. That's exactly what it is. And I actually think he can overperform Thomas Frank. I think a lot of people are giving Frank a lot of shit right now. And I do think he can do a good job at this football club. But like I keep saying, we need to stick with the path we're on right now. And if that fails next season, it fails, and then we go in a different direction. Fair enough. But from what we've seen, the players. I can't keep saying it over and over again, but we have to keep on this path, in my opinion.
Apparently, Frank is now a favourite according to the bookies. 1.4.
1.4.
And just 3. So maybe something's happened. Maybe the
yeah. Well, last time we checked, Postecoglou was favourite with evens, and Frank just above it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So maybe with him coming back from holiday, I'm a bit worried if Frank is the appointment. Like Levy uses that as an excuse not to really spend any money. Not that he needs it, but like we know that Ange, football has a high ceiling, but it needs real quality. Like maybe he comes in with Frank, he goes, Frank, you can just do what you got, kind of thing. Like he always has been. That's what I'm a bit worried about.
Yeah, but he's been at Brentford.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not been, going for what we've been going for. He's never been in European football before. If Daniel Levy looks at this squad and the way we were so underprepared going into it this season and says under any manager that we don't need to spend money, then that's just more evidence of why Levy needs to leave this football club.
We finished this now. 3AA3 says Ange took over a team in 8th and took them to 5th in one season after losing the club's greatest goal scorer, then won a trophy like he always does in his second year in the face of unprecedented injuries. In Japan, his team was in 17th and ended up winning the league the next season. He's been here before. 17th is irrelevant in the face of trophies, and anyone who thinks that should go and join Arsenal with their bottlers mentality.
17th is not irrelevant. It's definitely not irrelevant to have the worst ever league campaign that we've seen with our very own eyes. However, winning a trophy is very significant, and also finishing 5th the season before has to be taken into account when you're talking about if this manager can manage in this league or not. So, I mean, there's definitely pros and cons when you're looking at the stats towards Ange and you're looking at what he's achieved so far in the Tottenham job. So it's definitely not irrelevant finishing 17th, but you got also taken the positives as a very much a relevancy.
Yeah, I agree. You can't just brush aside the fact that how the league campaign what happened with it. But obviously, you should also assess why it happened, why you think it happened. Was it just because this guy is a buffoon and doesn't know what he's doing, or was there reasons for it? Did he make mistakes as well? How much blame do you portion to him? All these different things should be passed out. I'm worried they're not going to do that analysis, and maybe we'll just brush over, look at it as on the face of it, and say this is just unacceptable, and they'll sack him off the face of that. But in my opinion, yes, obviously Ange has a lot to be accounted for that league form, but is there enough in the evidence to suggest maybe it's not totally his fault and he can be given another opportunity? I would like to think so. Paul Jenkinson T7K says, I'm an Aussie who has followed Ange's team for years now, so I support the Spurs. I've never experienced such toxicity from supporters as I have with Tottenham. In Aussie football, if your team coach is really bad, is really shit for like 3 years, we will start to grumble. But you guys go for the throat. And for context, you spend less than the other big clubs on players, had a horrific run with the first team players, and he still delivered a trophy, for fuck's sake. He's suggesting that we should be grumbling. He said, give it 3 years.
No, he's not.
He said, after 3 years, he said, one more year.
Next season. Yeah,
one more 70, then you can grumble. You can't even complain. You can grumble a bit. Look, I think Tottenham fans... we definitely have, in terms of over
Tottenham
the last 20 years,
issues.
we have issues. We definitely have it. We have mental problems. I think so. As a fan base, I think we're very up and down. We're very we don't know what we want sometimes. We're very impatient. We've definitely been impatient over the last however long. Especially it's been
that's only because we've been so patient.
No, I agreed, but the impatience has been accelerated since Poch got sacked, I would say. There's been a massive wave of impatience, I'd say.
Because we've been so patient.
Yeah, we've been patient for a long time, but now we're very, very impatient, which is the fact. And we can get toxic very quickly. But it's all on the flip side. It's like, when is it ever right to be toxic? Like, if it's not right when you're losing as many games as we are to be toxic, then when is it ever right to be toxic, I guess, would be the argument. Like, at some points, you do need to call out things that are not good that you see, and that's what a lot of people are doing. I didn't like to see it a lot of the time, and obviously while we were still in the Europa League run, which we ended up winning, it wasn't great, but obviously we did end up with the trophy and we won. And it's been hasn't been any toxicity for a week after, and then it started again. But I think right now the fan base is in a better place than it has been for sure.
Sections of it, yeah.
Most of it, I would say.
Sections of it.
There's still still elements.
Yeah, look, the reality is, right, we because we're not at stadiums right now, all we can go on is what's going on online. And what's going on online is, a lot of it is pretty toxic, to be honest. And like a couple days after winning that trophy, there's already Ange in, Ange out debates, and everyone's going at each other's throats. And I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, can Spurs fans ever be happy? When are we ever going to be happy?
When we've won a league. So never. We're never going to be happy. Colin Sampson 5924 says the best form of defense is silence. We've just won Europa League competition for the first time in 41 years, and we qualified for the Champions League next season. We are playing another cup on the 13th of August against PSG. Start focusing on the positives. You'll feel better rather than getting yourself upset and feeling miserable. Stop reading all the nonsense in the media, then you'll not have to waste your time getting upset and recording this video.
We need to know what's going on, people. We need to know what's going on.
Just think happy thoughts.
We need to know what's going on.
All right, Sammy, put the Europa League highlights back on. Someone get a trophy celebration picture of Son.
Actually, last night I was just lying in bed. I got this new flashy projector where I watch the TV on my screen, and I was watching the highlights of the parade. I went to sleep a happy man last night.
It's just burned in my brain now, those images. I need to get it more so that even when I sleep, I'm dreaming of it. So I never stop watching
last night. I dreamt of the parade. I fell asleep watching the parade. Beautiful times.
Oh man, you dreamt that you were on the parade. You were the one on the bus. Good times. Think happy thoughts. We'll try, but when we know what's happening, we've got any sort of inkling of the future, then we can settle down a bit. Even if it means Andrew's leaving, blah blah blah, you go with it. But until we don't know, it's just like, what can we be positive about in terms of moving forward? Yeah. Obviously, we've won that competition, and we're going to mull over it until next season. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to enjoy that we've won it, but at some point, you do have to start looking like, what's next? What's the future? And I know maybe 2 weeks is quite quick, but still, when everyone's moving, football doesn't stand still.
That's it.
Football doesn't wait for you. And whilst we're deliberating and whilst we're deciding, everyone else is moving and we're not.
Exactly.
Ollie Sherman says, love you boys, but I'm not sure what you're expecting. It's been 2 weeks. Most of the players are on internationals. Coach is on holiday after a shit show of a season. Ange is on contract still. Let's just not feel insecure just because another club is making signings.
But it's not just another club, is it? It's pretty much the whole top half of the Premier League which are making signings right now. Liverpool have made top signings. Man City have made top signings. Arsenal brought in Zubimendi and looking to bring in a 9. Manchester United, who we beat in the Europa League final, have made, on the verge of making an Mbeumo signing, have brought Cunha in already. Like, everyone around us seems to be bringing in top signings, whilst we're just doing nothing, absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm. And as much as all well and good saying it doesn't matter if other clubs are making signings, like, we still got a long time. I understand, but they're signing players we should be looking at and we should be in for. And there's, unfortunately, when you're looking in the Premier League, as you said, in terms of proven players outside of the top 6 who are gettable, it's a finite number. That's for sure. It's not a lot. And so everyone's shopping in the same pool of players. That's why you've seen Mbeumo is being linked with pretty much the whole of the top 6. And that's why Delap has been linked with everyone. And that's why Cunha has been linked with everyone. And all these kind of things. So, it's all well and good saying it doesn't matter to us, but those are players we could have had our hat in the ring if we got our shit in order a lot quicker and made a better case for ourselves. And right now, what can we tell these players? Yeah, come to us, but I can't tell you who the manager's going to be. But yeah, sign your contract. It's like we can't tell them that. So then they're dismissing us out of hand at the moment and not even considering us as an option because they're like, they don't even know what they're doing. Saying, looking at them.
Exactly. 5 rejections in 5 days, people.
And more to come, I bet. BBOK Dung says, if Romero ever leaves, sign Kim from Bayern. Kim is perfect for Ange's high line. Bayern recently signed Tar as an FA, so they are willing to sell Kim at a reasonable price. Oh, a free agent, I think he means FA.
Yeah, I would like to see Kim at this football club. I love Kim Min-jae. I think he's a top player. Whether he come to us is a different story. I don't know. He
hasn't had the best time at Bayern, has he?
Yeah, I think he's had a better season this year than he had last year. That's for sure. Under Company, he's more of a Company defender than he is Thomas Tuchel. So I think, yeah, I'd like to see him at this football club. I just don't know if it's a deal that we can get done. And we had the opportunity to bring him in years back for like absolutely nothing, for peanuts. We didn't do it. We lost out, and he ended up at Bayern Munich.
Son could put in a good word, can't he?
I'm sure he could, but still, like, I don't know.
They had a falling out briefly, didn't they? Very
Kim
briefly.
Min-jae and Son, that was years ago.
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah, but I think they're best of buds now. There's also just some news just broke about Romero, that he's been named as one of their 3 captains now.
Leader.
Yeah. So
leader for us. People question whether he should be a captain, but he's captain at international level now. That shows how highly regarded he is. Mavis 1108 says, no other clubs announce manager is staying. Such online hysteria. If you didn't watch YouTube and weren't a fan, you just wait and see. If you didn't watch YouTube and weren't a fan, what do you mean?
YouTube.
Oh, weren't a fan of YouTube. You just went, look, I've seen people say this, and I completely agree. Tottenham are not going to put out a statement saying season 3 confirmed and just staying. That ain't going to happen, because then if they did that, they would be confirming to everyone they were looking for a replacement, essentially, or they were considering not keeping him, and they wouldn't do that publicly. That would be kept behind closed doors. But you would hear leaks, or you would hear journalists, if the decision be made and Ange knew about it, you would hear that Tottenham will keep Ange. Ange is staying on. All these different things. You'd definitely hear that from Ali Gold. You'd hear it from a lot of
Fabrizio.
You'd hear it from everyone.
You're telling me Fabrizio that the moment that it's confirmed that he's staying from inside the club, you're not hearing a tweet from Fabrizio saying Ange staying 3rd season incoming.
Yes, something like that. 100%.
And like, did you not hear that with Ten Hag last summer? You know, all the journalists came out saying he's going, and then all the journalists started saying he's staying. So that's what you're going to hear with Ange, whether he goes or stays.
Exactly. So I think this whole narrative, like, why are you expecting an announcement? That's not the point. We're expecting to hear news, not necessarily from Tottenham itself, but obviously when news gets filtered to the journalists, that's coming from Spurs. That's something they're filtering out. They're leaking that information. This isn't they're not just finding out without Tottenham's knowledge. Tottenham know this is going to break. Tottenham know all these things.
Put it this way, we're not waiting for a club announcement to say he's staying.
No, we're not. But we are waiting for news to come out from journalists to suggest either way. And the fact that, and also on the flip side as well, all we have heard from journalists and other people is that he's leaving. We haven't heard any suggestion yet that he's there. And I haven't heard one person saying that Tottenham are going to keep him right now. Everyone is saying he's either been sacked or they don't know. That's one of the two things. Yeah. So as long as that's the latest we've heard. It's not like we're hearing that anyone's behind closed doors saying that he's staying and we're just not believing it and waiting for an announcement for the club. That's not the case. We have heard from journalists and everything that either from reliable people that we've chosen to sack him and we haven't heard that confirmed, or that they're still deliberating. Either way, the fact we haven't heard anything is ridiculous. So I think I don't understand why I keep seeing people in the comments saying, why are you waiting for an announcement? They're not going to announce that he's staying. That's not the point. That isn't the point.
But there will be an announcement, just not from Tottenhm.
Not an announcement, there'll be news.
Yeah, which is kind of an announcement.
Yeah, I guess. It'll be a story. It'll be a story in broken from someone. Robert Phillips 328 says, guys, the role of a CEO at Tottenham is entirely different from the role of a chair. A CEO's responsibility is to action the strategy of the board. The role is about operational management. CEOs are often not even on the board. Often they just attend this with the CFO. A chair's responsibility to the shareholders. For Levy to be removed as chair, he essentially has to be fired by ENIC, who own the controlling shares / votes. Nothing noting his commercial success and part ownership. That is not going to happen. The only caveat on this are whether Levy or Lewis have decided that they want out, or importantly, a new investors offered significant money but wants their own chair Don't rule this out. Hope I've cleared things up.
Well, thank you very much for clearing things up, mate.
So he's saying the rumours of Levy being forced out are far-fetched.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not true. I hope he can be forced out. But being I mean, he can be removed. He can be forced out his position without being forced out the club, if that makes sense.
Well, he can be forced out of being chairman
because he's not majority stakeholder of this club. He's not the owner of the club. He's part owner of the club.
Mm-hmm.
So if the majority,
30%,
yes, right? I think it's like 29 or whatever it is. If the majority owner want him out, surely the board can vote on who they want the chairman to be. And if they get a majority voting that they don't want it to be Levy, surely Levy can be pushed out of that position.
Yeah, you would. I guess so. Well, also, what's his name? I think Carrington has come in as someone that Lewis has appointed onto the board. Isn't that right? Non-exec director. Cullen's now left. Is that one less vote for someone like Levy if they did make that vote potentially? So I don't know. Maybe it can be forced out. Look, I don't know the makeup of the board in like intimately or anything or in great detail, but
this is where we need Grandpa.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe he can give us. He would have been able to give us a better direction on this. Yeah, but I do find it hard to believe Levy can be, unless there is something to do with the investment and if they would get a say if they invest and that dilutes the ownership of Levy, and then maybe that way he can be forced out. I don't know.
Daniel, I want to have a heart-to-heart with you, man. Daniel, if you say, you've always said you're a big Spurs fan, grew up as a big Spurs fan. If you want to do what's best and what's right for Tottenham, if you want this future of this football club and you want to see us fighting for the big things in the future and not just want to line your pockets year after year after year and be the biggest paid director in the Premier League history, it's time to sell up, man. Time to sell those shares. You've made enough. You've created a legacy with the stadium, training ground, all the infrastructure's there for Spurs to blow up and be a massive club. It's time to go, man. Sell up if you want what's best for this football club. That's all I got to say.
Perfect way to end it. All right, it's the last comment.
Ah, okay.